Hello students. In our subject political science, or which we also call civics, we are going to do our first chapter, that is all about power sharing. Now here we have taken this topic power sharing, and basically we are going to see how it is worked out in two countries. We cannot take into consideration every country while teaching you. So here we have taken the example of Belgium and Sri Lanka. Now both of them use different systems of power sharing. Now in a modern democracy, what are the common things that we find about power sharing? Now here power sharing in modern democracies like our country also, the first point that you see is power is shared among different organs of the government. Now which are the different organs of the government? Legislature, executive, and the judiciary. This system of power sharing was to keep a checks and balance so that no one organ of the government becomes overpowerful. Legislature consists of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha in our country. So over here, both of them decide and then they pass the law. In Lok Sabha, of course, there are directly elected representatives of the people. Executive, that is the president, he signs and only then does it become a law. That means he gives his assent. And the judiciary upholds the law. This idea of checks and balance or division of powers was actually given during the French Revolution, when there was absolute monarchy. Full rights was in the hands of just one powerful autocratic king, that was Louis XVI. And this idea was given by Voltaire. You know that in those days, three very great writers, Rousseau, Montesquieu and Voltaire, existed who spread this idea. Okay, so we have power sharing between legislature, executive and judiciary in our country also. Next, you can see power can be shared by governments at different levels. Now, what do we mean by different levels? We have a three-tier system in our country. We have the central government, we have the state government, and we have what is known as the Panchayati Raj. So it goes to district level as well as the village level. The Panchayati Raj itself is a three-tier system again. So there is some power at central level, some power at state level. All the different states of India, that is 29 states, and the Panchayati Raj system, that means the Zilla Parishad, the Panchayat Samiti, as well as the grassroots levels, that is the village level, that is the Gram Panchayat. So power can be shared at three different levels in a hierarchy in this manner also. Next point that we see is power may be shared among different social groups. Now what do we mean by different social groups? In a community, you might have two social classes or groups like the rich and the poor. The power may be shared among them. Or it might be religious communities like the Hindus and the Muslims. So you'll find that it can be shared among the different groups. In the case of Tamilians and the Sinhalese who are there in Sri Lanka, they don't have an equal power sharing basis. But in Belgium, you find that the different social groups, Dutch speaking, French speaking and the German speaking, they share equal power. Fourth point that we can see here is that power sharing can also be seen between political parties, pressure groups and movements. Political parties are those who fight the elections and they want to come to power. One of them comes to power, they become the ruling party, and the other is the opposition party. Parties that do not win may have a small number of people also in the opposition. Pressure groups, that means those who try to put pressure on the political parties, and of course movements, that is people's movements. So all these may share the power. So we will see in this lesson basically examples from two different countries. Let us now look at the examples which are given in our text. Okay, we are taking two countries into consideration, Belgium and Sri Lanka. Belgium is a small country in Europe, smaller in area than the state of Haryana. Okay, it's a really small country. It has borders with France, Netherlands, in olden days Netherlands used to be called Holland, and Germany and Luxembourg. It has a population of little over 1 crore, about half the population of Haryana, which means it is not as populated as Haryana, it is as small as Haryana. And let us see how they solve their problem of power sharing. As I told you earlier, they have basically 3 ethnic groups. That is the Dutch speaking, Dutch, that is the Holland, what they speak over there, or Netherlands, German, and you have French speaking people also, or there are what we call Flemish speaking persons. The ethnic composition of this small country is very complex. Now actually it's not very complex. In India, we don't have only 3 ethnic groups. You know that there are so many languages, 20 official languages, and that's why we have so many more ethnic groups. When we see how they solve their problem, maybe we could get an idea how we can solve our problem also of different ethnic groups. This is just a reminder that a problem can be solved mutually. Of the country's total population, 59% live in the Flemish region and speak Dutch. Okay, so we have Dutch speaking people, and that is 59%. Another 40% people live in Wallonia region and speak French. Remaining 1% of Belgians speak German. In the capital city, that is Brussels, 80% speak French and 20% speak Dutch. Okay, so we have seen maximum people are Dutch speaking, then French, and then Belgium, that is all over the country. But maximum French speaking people in the capital. The minority French speaking community was relatively rich and powerful. This was resented or hated by the Dutch speaking community, who got the benefit of economic development and education much later. So the French were considered as the elite. Though they were few, they were considered at a higher level. The Dutch people got education much later, and then they came up much later. This led to tension between Dutch speaking and French speaking communities during the 1950s and 60s, not just now. Just now the problem is amicably solved, but in the 1950s and 60s there was problem between the Dutch and the French speaking community. German, of course, were only 1%, so they didn't come in the picture. The tension between the two communities was more acute in Brussels. Acute means very intense. Brussels presented a special problem. The Dutch-speaking people constituted a majority in the country, but a minority in the capital. Let us compare this with another country, that is Sri Lanka. This is an island nation, just a few kilometers off the southern coast of Tamil Nadu. It has 2 crore people, about the same as in Haryana. Like other nations in South Asia, Sri Lanka has a diverse population. Diverse means different types of people. The major social groups are Sinhala speaking, that is 74%, and Tamil speaking, that is 18%. So you can see very clearly over here, Sinhalas are the majority and the Tamil speaking population is the minority. Among Tamils, there are two subgroups. Tamil natives of the country are called Sri Lankan Tamils, that is 13%. The rest, whose forefathers, that means ancestors, came maybe 2 or 3 centuries ago or maybe 2-3 generations ago from India as plantation workers during colonial period, are called Indian Tamils. That means they have come from India. As you can see from the map, Sri Lankan Tamils are concentrated in the north and east of the country. Most of the Sinhala speaking people are Buddhist, while most of the Tamilians are Hindus or Muslims. There are about 7% Christians who are both Tamil and Sinhala. Now just imagine what would happen in situations like this. Now we have seen one country, that is Belgium. The Dutch community could take advantage of its number. That means though it is not as rich as the French speaking are less in number and the Dutch are more in number. German speaking population, of course, as I told you, doesn't really count. This would push the conflict among the communities further, and this could lead to a very messy partition of the country. Both the sides would claim control over Brussels. In Sri Lanka, the Sinhala community enjoyed an even bigger majority and could impose its will on the entire country. Now let us look at what happened in both these countries. What we are going to see is how they share the power. In Belgium, you have three major languages: Dutch, French, and German. And in Sri Lanka, we have basically two social groups. One is the Buddhist Sinhalas and the other the Tamil speaking or the Tamilian. Some of them are originally from Sri Lanka and some who had migrated from India. Okay, so now we see majoritism in Sri Lanka. Now in Sri Lanka, power sharing, here we are talking about two countries, Sri Lanka, and we are going to take Belgium. Okay, now first, what was the difference? In Sri Lanka, you have Sinhalas and you have the Tamils. In Belgium, they had the Dutch, French, and German. Now, what did Sri Lanka use? The method of majoritism. So, we are going to see majoritarianism that means the rule of the majority. Who were the majority? The Sinhalas. Okay, and the Tamilians are the minority. So, whatever the majority wants, basically that will happen. Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. That is 1 year after India got independence. India became independent in 1947 and then Sri Lanka became independent in 1948. The leaders of the Sinhala community sought to secure dominance over government by virtue of their majority. As a result, the democratically elected government adopted a series of majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy. Supremacy means to show that we are more important and whatever we want will happen. In 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language, disregarding Tamil. That Tamil will not be recognized as an official language, only Sinhala will be recognized. The governments followed preferential policies that favored Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs. A new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism. So Buddhism will be the official religion and Sinhala will be the official language. All these government measures, coming one after the other, gradually increased the feeling of alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils. They felt that none of the major political parties led by Buddhist Sinhala leaders were sensitive to their language and culture. They felt that nobody cares about us. Nobody bothers about us. They felt that the constitution and government policies denied them equal political rights, discriminated against them in getting jobs and other opportunities, and ignored their interests. As a result, the relations between Sinhala and Tamil communities strained over the time. So that means there was tension between these two communities, the Sinhals and the Tamils. The Sri Lankan Tamils launched party and struggles for the recognition of Tamil as an official language, for regional autonomy. Autonomy means self-rule, and equality of opportunity in securing education and jobs. But their demand for more autonomy to provinces populated by Tamils was repeatedly denied. That means again and again they kept asking, but they were told, no, you will not get autonomy. So they said, we don't want autonomy in those areas where the Sinhalas are a majority, but at least in those areas where the Tamils are a majority. By 1980, several political organizations were formed demanding an independent Tamil Illam, that is, a state, in northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka. The distrust between the two communities turned into widespread conflict, and this became a civil war. A civil war is not a war with another country. A civil war is a war which is within the country. So here there was a civil war between the Sinhalas and the Tamils. As a result, thousands of people of both communities have been killed. Many families were forced to leave the country as refugees and many lost their livelihoods. Then you can also see how it affected their country. अभी यहाँ पे जो हम पाठ करने जा रहे हैं, पावर शेयरिंग. Let us quickly do a recap. हमने यहाँ पे देखा कि मोस्टली मॉडर्न डेमोक्रेसी में, जैसे कि हमारी कंट्री है, पावर शेयरिंग कैसे किया जाता है. फर्स्ट, अमंग डिफरेंट ऑर्गन्स ऑफ गवर्नमेंट, गवर्नमेंट में जो 3 विभाग उसके किए जाते हैं, लेजिस्लेचर, एग्जीक्यूटिव और जुडिशरी, यानी ये रूल्स या लॉज बनाते हैं, ये उनको अमल में लाते हैं और ये देखते हैं कि वो कायम रहे, या कोई अगर उसके खिलाफ जाए तो उनको सजा दी जाती है. जुडिशरी में आता है हमारा हाई कोर्ट, सुप्रीम कोर्ट, एग्जीक्यूटिव में प्रेसिडेंट, एंड इन लेजिस्लेचर एट स्टेट लेवल वी हैव विधानसभा, विधान परिषद, एंड एट सेंट्रल लेवल वी हैव द लोकसभा एंड राज्यसभा. तो पावर जो है एक के हाथ में न हो वही बेहतर होता है. सो हम यहाँ पे कैसे देखा कि 3 विभाग जो है उनके पास पावर, अलग अलग पावर, एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर इज डिफरेंट, लेजिस्लेटिव पावर इज डिफरेंट, बट इट इज शेयर्ड, यानी वो मिलजुल के काम करते हैं और पावर जो है वो बांटते हैं. सेकेंड, हमने देखा पावर कैन बी शेयर्ड बाय गवर्नमेंट्स एट डिफरेंट लेवल्स, यानी हर अलग लेवल पे, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट यानी जो हमारी गवर्नमेंट है दिल्ली में, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट 29 स्टेट्स में स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स होगी, यूनियन टेरिटरीज 7 यूनियन टेरिटरीज में उनकी सेपरेट गवर्नमेंट नहीं होती, वो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के नीचे आते हैं. और जो पंचायती राज सिस्टम है, यानी जिला लेवल या डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल या ग्राम तक यानी गांव के लेवल तक, अलग अलग उनके कैसे पावर्स होते हैं. यानी किसी को भी यह नहीं लगना चाहिए कि वो दिल्ली में डिसाइड करते हैं और हमें उनका मानना पड़ता है. हर लेवल में उनको थोड़ा पावर दिया जाता है. लेकिन सेंट्रल और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का पावर एग्जैक्टली क्या है, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के नीचे क्या क्या आता है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के नीचे क्या क्या आता है, वो ऑफ कोर्स हम चैप्टर 2 में देखेंगे. नेक्स्ट, पावर में बी शेयर्ड अमंग डिफरेंट सोशल ग्रुप्स. समाज में जो डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स है, अभी यहाँ पे काफी हद तक हिंदूज मेजॉरिटी में आते हैं और बाकी सारी कम्युनिटीज माइनॉरिटी या कम मात्रा में आते हैं. उनके बीच में कैसे पावर शेयरिंग होगा. पावर शेयरिंग इज अ गुड आइडिया ताकि उनमें झगड़े ना हो. अगर आप मिलजुल के बांट के, यानी आप हिस्सा बनाते हैं, आपको भी तो 2 सीट्स दी जाती है, जैसे एंग्लो इंडियन के लिए हमने 2 सीट्स रखी है लोकसभा में, तो सभी को लगता है हमारा प्रतिनिधित्व होता है, हमें भी थोड़ी पावर दी जाती है. Next, you can see power sharing can also be seen between political parties, pressure groups and movements. अभी अलग अलग पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज जो है, जो पावर में आती है, उनके पास में तो पावर होता ही है क्योंकि वो जीत के पावर में आ गए, गवर्नमेंट उन्होंने बनाई. ऑपोजिशन पार्टी के हाथ में भी पावर होता है. ये पावर होता है उनको अपोज या उनके विरुद्ध खड़ा होने के लिए. प्रेशर ग्रुप उन पर प्रेशर डालती है. ऑफ कोर्स उनके जो भी अपने लिए करना है उसके लिए वो गवर्नमेंट पे प्रेशर डालेगी. मूवमेंट्स, मोस्टली पीपल्स मूवमेंट्स या लोगों को जो चाहिए वो करने के लिए वो प्रेशर ग्रुप को मनाते हैं कि वो प्रेशर डाले पॉलिटिकल पार्टी पे. सो इन दिस मैनर यू कैन सी पावर कैन बी शेयर्ड. अभी ये पावर शेयरिंग हमने 2 कंट्रीज में सिर्फ हमने डिटेल में देखा है इस पार्ट में. सो वी आर गोइंग टू सी इन जनरल. ये जो पॉइंट्स थे, दिस वाज फॉर any country which is a democracy, the modern democracy. This can come as a question also. Okay, so this can come as a question as what are the features of power sharing in modern democracies. So you will have to write these 4 points. These 4 points can come as your question. इसके बाद में हमने देखा 2 countries. हमने श्रीलंका में देखा कि सिन्हाला जो है वो मेजॉरिटी है, लेकिन वहां पे जो चल रहा है मेजॉरिटेरियनिज्म, यानी मेजॉरिटी का चलता है, और माइनॉरिटी में जो तमिलियन लोग हैं, काफी साल पहले यानी 2-3 पीढ़ी पहले जो तमिलियंस इंडिया से गए श्रीलंका, उनको अपना हक नहीं मिल रहा है. तमिल जो भाषा है वो ऑफिशियल भाषा नहीं मानी जाती है और ऑफिशियल धर्म जो है वो बुद्धिस्ट वो मानते हैं, क्योंकि मैक्सिमम जो सिन्हाला है वो है बुद्धिस्ट. तो तमिल लोगों ने भी अपना मूवमेंट चालू किया, बहुत हानि भी हुई दोनों साइड से, क्योंकि सिविल वॉर यानी अपने ही देश में अगर दो विभाग हो जाते हैं और उनमें युद्ध होता है, यानी दूसरे कंट्री के साथ नहीं, तो दोनों का नुकसान होता है। तो ये हमने देखा अभी श्रीलंका में। नाउ बेल्जियम कैसे इसको सुलझाती है, क्योंकि बेल्जियम में भी हम देखते हैं कि 3 प्रकार के लोग हैं, दैट इज डच स्पीकिंग, डच यानी जो हॉलैंड या नेदरलैंड के लोग रहते हैं। क्यों डच स्पीकिंग लोग हैं? क्योंकि बेल्जियम बहुत ही छोटी कंट्री है, उसके बाउंड्री में 3-4 अलग कंट्रीज जो है, लग्जमबर्ग, जर्मनी, उसका उतना प्रभाव नहीं है उनके भाषा पर, लेकिन डच स्पीकिंग और फ्रेंच स्पीकिंग, तो डच लोग सबसे ज्यादा है, सेकेंड फ्रेंच और सबसे कम जर्मन जो सिर्फ 1% है। डच लोग इन टोटल बेल्जियम में ज्यादा है, लेकिन उनकी जो राजधानी है ब्रसल्स, वहां पे फ्रेंच ज्यादा बोलते हैं और डच कम। तो डच लोग नंबर से ज्यादा हुए, लेकिन फ्रेंच लोग ज्यादा अमीर है और उनके हाथ में उस हिसाब से पावर ज्यादा है, लेकिन अगर अपने हाथ में पावर लेना चाहे तो डच भी ले सकेंगे क्योंकि वो नंबर से ज्यादा है। तो हाउ डू दे सॉल्व देयर प्रॉब्लम? दैट इज व्हाट वी विल सी नाउ। Okay, so accommodation in Belgium. The Belgian leaders took a different path. They recognized the existence of regional differences and cultural diversities. Between 1970 and 1993, they amended their constitution 4 times so as to work out an arrangement that would enable everyone to live together within the same country. The arrangements they worked out is different from any other country and is very innovative. Innovative means to have a new idea. Here are some of the elements of the Belgian model. Now before we go on to the Belgian model, let me tell you, Belgium ने अपना जो constitution है, constitution यानी आप जो राज्य घटना बनाते हैं, वो लगभग 4 बार चेंज किया ताकि वो सभी को साथ में लेके उन्हें क्या चाहिए, ताकि ये सिविल वॉर अपने ही कंट्री में न हो, उसके लिए उन्होंने क्या क्या किया। सो नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू सी द बेल्जियम मॉडल। ओके, सो लेट अस लुक एट द एलिमेंट्स ऑफ द बेल्जियन मॉडल। नाउ दिस कैन ऑल्सो कम एज अ क्वेश्चन, व्हाट आर द एलिमेंट्स ऑफ द बेल्जियन मॉडल? ओके, द फर्स्ट पॉइंट, equal number of Dutch and French speaking ministers in the central government. So there won't be any problem that the Dutch feel that we are not represented, or the French might feel superior because they are rich, or the Dutch might feel superior because they are more in number. Second, state governments are not subordinate to the central government as they have been given many powers. So central government and state government have been given a lot of powers. Normally हमें लगता है कि central government higher level पे है और state government का उतना importance नहीं मानते हैं, लेकिन यहाँ पे state government को भी काफी importance होता है. So both central and state government share the power. और हमने ये भी देखा वो equal number of ministers central government में जो French speaking है और Dutch speaking है, दोनों को रखते हैं. Third point, equal representation in Brussels, which has a separate government. Brussels, जो उनकी राजधानी है, वहाँ पे भी equal number you have of Dutch and French. Last point, a third separate community government which has powers over cultural, educational and language related issues. अभी भाषा के बारे में कुछ हो या अपने culture के बारे में, नाच गाना, नाटक, जो folk music और anything like that, और education, तो ये third level की जो government है, community government, तो वो तय करेगी कि जो area में ज़्यादातर Dutch speaking होंगे, शायद स्कूल में उनका शिक्षण या education will be in Dutch. In those areas where there are more French speaking people, their education will be in French. Dutch can be kept as a second language, or where Dutch is the first language, French may be the second language. And in regions where there are Germans, that is of course only 1%, German may also be as one of the languages in school. So they have solved the problems. Belgium में जो tension आपको तमिलनाडु के लोग जो आए हैं और बसे हैं श्रीलंका में, वो प्लस जो श्रीलंकन ओरिजिनल तमिलियंस है उनके बीच में और सिन्हाला में जो टसल या फाइट आप देखें, यहाँ पे शायद वो प्रॉब्लम उन्होंने ये चेंजेस करके मिटा दिया. सो यू कैन सी, प्लीज टेक डाउन, दिस कैन ऑल्सो कम एज अ क्वेश्चन. So this will be, what are the elements of the Belgian model? Here you have 4 points which are important, and this can also come as one of the questions. That means, how is power sharing done in modern democracy, or the features. So this can come as one more question. Okay. So now we will see in detail the Belgian accommodation. Constitution prescribes that number of Dutch people and French should be equal in the central government. Some special laws require the support of majority of members from each linguistic group. Thus, no single community can make decisions unilaterally. Unilaterally यानी एक की मनमानी नहीं चलती है, दोनों को डिसाइड करना पड़ता है. यानी डच लोग भी हाँ बोले और फ्रेंच स्पीकिंग बेल्जियंस भी हाँ बोले, तभी वो तय होता है. Second point, we saw that central or state government में भी power sharing होता है, because state government has also got a lot of powers. Third, that we saw that Brussels also has equal representation. Not only that, it has a separate government. The French-speaking people accepted equal representation in Brussels because the Dutch-speaking community had accepted equal representation in central government. अभी total country में लोग जो है डच ज्यादा है, लेकिन उन्होंने मान लिया कि ठीक है, फ्रेंच को भी, फ्रेंच स्पीकिंग लोगों को इक्वल सीट्स दी जाए. तो इसीलिए ब्रसल्स में जहां पे फ्रेंच बोलने वाले ज्यादा है, उन्होंने भी ये मान लिया कि ठीक है, वहां पे हमें उन्होंने 50% दिया, तो यहां हम ब्रसल्स में उन्हें भी 50% सीट्स दें. Apart from central and state, as I told you, there is a community government that will depend more on the area. जो एरिया में जो भी भाषा ज्यादा बोली जाती है, उस हिसाब से वो कम्युनिटी गवर्नमेंट उसको महत्व देगा. You might find that the Belgian model is very complicated. It indeed is very complicated even for people living in Belgium. But these arrangements have worked well. They help to avoid civic strife between the two major communities and a possible division of the country on linguistic lines. Linguistic lines, when we say, भाषा के कारण जब डिविजन्स होते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, पहले पूरा बड़ा डेक्कन था, महाराष्ट्र सेपरेट नहीं था, फिर सेपरेट गुजरात बना, महाराष्ट्र बना, कर्नाटक बना. सो दिस वाज बेस्ड ऑन लैंग्वेज. तो इस प्रकार से बेल्जियम एज इट इज इतनी छोटी कंट्री है, यानी जितना हमारा हरियाणा उतनी छोटी कंट्री है, तो उसके भी विभाग हो जाए तो देन देयर विल बी 3 डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ बेल्जियम. Then it will not be seen on the map also, such a tiny country. So they solved their problem in a different way. Complicated भले ही वो लगे, लेकिन उन्होंने अपना प्रॉब्लम जो है वो सुलझाया है. लोगों में अभी मिलजुल के वो काम करते हैं, even if they are of different communities. When many countries of Europe came together to form European Union, Brussels was chosen as the headquarter. In United Nations, you know that you have most of the headquarters in America, or you also have it in Switzerland. Now Switzerland was a neutral country, which is why it was chosen. So when European Union was formed, अलग-अलग यूरोपीय देश एक साथ आए जब, और यूरो एक करेंसी उन्होंने अपनाई, तब उसका जो मेन मुख्य headquarters जो है वो है ब्रसल्स में. Why Brussels? Because they realized in Brussels they had solved this ethnic problem and they were always at peace. There was calm, unlike Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka and Belgium, you see totally 2 different models. One where the majority rules, might is right. जो पावर में है उसका चलता है, जो नंबर से ज्यादा है उसका चलता है. और बेल्जियम में उन्होंने ये सुलझाया, मिलजुल के, बांट के, पावर शेयरिंग करके अपना प्रॉब्लम सुलझाया. Now what do we learn from these 2 stories? Both are democracies. Both these countries have democracies just like India. Yet they deal with the question of power sharing differently. In Belgium, the leaders have realized that the unity of the country is possible only by respecting the feelings and interests of different communities and regions. Such a realization resulted in mutually accepted arrangements for power sharing. Sri Lanka shows us a contrasting example. That means just the opposite. It shows us that if a majority community wants to force its dominance, it can undermine the unity of the country. Now India on its own tries to work out different methods. Majority is of course Hindus, but Muslims also have equal right, equal political right, economic right, all the rights, social rights. So we do not consider differences in community, whether they are Parsis, that is Zoroastrian, whether they are Jews, Jains, Buddhist, all the communities have equal rights. So in a way we have tried to solve a ethnic problem in a similar manner, just like Belgium has done. Why power sharing is desirable? अभी ये जो पावर शेयरिंग है, जैसे बेल्जियम में हमने देखा, ये जब हम शेयर करते हैं, बांटते हैं या मिलजुल के हम बांट लेते हैं, सिर्फ हमारे पास पावर हो ऐसे ना करके, ये इसमें फायदा क्या होता है? सो देयर आर टू मेन थिंग्स दैट वी कैन सी, इसमें दो गुना फायदा हो सकता है. वन, लाइक व्हेन आई से व्हाई पावर शेयरिंग? दैट मीन्स सभी को पसंद आएगा कि मेरे पास ही पूरी पावर हो. Why should this be a good point? First point is pragmatism. And the second is moral. Now, pragmatism यानी practically आप अगर सोचते हैं तो बेल्जियम का तरीका बराबर है, यानी मिलजुल के बांट के सहयोग से रहे. सेकेंड, मॉरल यानी नैतिक दृष्टि से भी ये सही माना जाता है. सो इन बोथ वेज वी विल सी दैट power sharing is the right way to go. Now here, two different sets of reasons can be given in favor of power sharing. Firstly, power sharing is good because it helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between social groups. The fight or the quarrels that happen will be reduced. Since social conflict can lead to violence and political instability, power sharing is a good way to ensure the stability of political order. Imposing the will of majority community over others may look like an attractive option in the short run, but in the long run it undermines the unity of the nation. Tyranny of the majority is not just oppressive for the minority, it often brings ruin to the majority as well. तो first point जो दिया गया है कि पहले बहुत अच्छा लगेगा अगर आप अपनी मनमानी कर सके या अपना ही चला सके, लेकिन वो छोटे वक्त के लिए, शॉर्ट पीरियड के लिए. लॉन्ग पीरियड में आप देखेंगे कि अगर मिलजुल के बांट के रहते हैं तो दैट इज ऑलवेज द बेस्ट. सेकेंड, deeper reason for power sharing is good for democracies. Power sharing is very spirit of democracy. A democratic rule involves power sharing with those affected by its exercise and those who live with its effects. People have a right to be consulted on how they are to be governed. A legitimate government is one where citizens, through participation, acquire a stake in the system. Legitimate system यानी जो जायज system है गवर्नमेंट की. पहले होता था कि एक राजा था, उसका निकम्मा बेटा नेक्स्ट राजा बनता था. टुडे पीपल्स पार्टिसिपेशन यानी लोग उसमें सहभागी होके उनको चुनते हैं, अपने लीडर को, जो उन्हें लायक लगता है. अगर उनको लगता है कि वो लायक नहीं है तो उसको निकाल सकते हैं, दूसरे को रख सकते हैं. तो इन पीपल्स पार्टिसिपेशन लोगों का जो सहभाग होना है और सहयोग इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. Let us call the first set of reasons prudential, that means for practical reasons, and the second you can see they are for morals because you know that it is a very good thing to do. Now they've given you one example over here. Annette studies in a Dutch medium school in northern region of Belgium. Many French speaking students in our school want the medium of instruction to be French. Selvi studies in a school in the northern region of Sri Lanka. All the students are Tamil speaking and they want the medium of instruction to be Tamil. If the parents of Annette and Selvi were to approach respective governments to realize the desire of the child, who is more likely to succeed and why? Now, दो उदाहरण जो दिए हैं, एक Annette का जो डच मीडियम स्कूल में है, ज़्यादातर बच्चे वहाँ पे फ्रेंच बोलते हैं और उन्हें चाहिए कि फ्रेंच इंट्रोड्यूस किया जाए स्कूल में, क्योंकि ज़्यादातर बच्चे फ्रेंच बोलते हैं. सिमिलर प्रॉब्लम अगर एक सिन्हाली लड़की तमिल स्पीकिंग स्कूल में है और रिक्वेस्ट करती है कि हमें सिन्हाली चाहिए, या बाकी के बच्चे चाहते हैं नहीं हमें तमिल चाहिए क्योंकि यहाँ पे ज़्यादा लोग तमिल है, तो ये जो प्रॉब्लम सुलझाने का है, कहाँ पे ज़्यादा इजीली सुलझ सकता है? इन बेल्जियम. In India also, if you see, we have started a 3-language system. That means if we are in an English medium student, English becomes our first language. Sometimes Hindi is the second language, and you might have a regional language which is the third, or the regional language may be second and Hindi being the national language may be third. So that this system allows for your own language to also be learned. तो आप जिस स्टेट में रहते हैं वहाँ पे उस स्टेट की भाषा भी आप सीखते हैं. भले ही आप अंग्रेजी मीडियम में हो, बट यू लर्न इंग्लिश, हिंदी एज वेल एज योर स्टेट लैंग्वेज. इफ यू आर इन महाराष्ट्र यू लर्न मराठी, इफ यू आर इन गुजरात यू लर्न गुजराती, इफ यू आर इन तमिलनाडु you learn Tamil, and so on. We have 29 different states with 29 different languages. So all these languages are officially accepted by our government. Now here they have given you one story, Khalil's dilemma. Dilemma means to be in two minds, द्विधा मनस्थिति में होना. अभी यहाँ पे कहानी दी गई है. Let us see if we can solve Khalil's dilemma. As usual, Vikram was driving the motorbike under a vow of silence, and Vetal was the pillion rider. Vikram and Vetal, these are stories which are in Chanda Mama. You may have read it. And you know that the king is asked questions by the Vetal, that is the ghost, and if he knows the answer, he should answer it, and otherwise he says, I will cut off your head. And as usual, the king always answers and the ghost escapes. Okay, so let us see. As usual, Vetal started telling Vikram a story to keep him awake while driving. Okay, so Vikram is driving his motorcycle, pillion rider, that means behind you have the Vetal, and he tells him a story. In the city of Beirut, there was a man called Khalil. His parents came from different communities. His father was an Orthodox Christian and his mother was a Sunni Muslim. You know, among Muslims you have Shias and Sunnis. This was not so uncommon in this modern cosmopolitan city. People from various communities that lived in Lebanon came to live in its capital, Beirut. They lived together, intermingled, that means they mixed with each other, yet fought a bitter civil war among themselves. One of Khalil's uncle was killed in that war. At the end of this civil war, Lebanon's leaders came together and agreed to some basic rules for power sharing among different communities. As per these rules, the country's president must belong to the Maronite sect of Catholic Christians. The prime minister will be from Sunni Muslim community. Deputy prime minister is from Orthodox Christian, and that of the speaker for Shia Muslims. Under this pact, the Christians agreed not to seek French protection, and the Muslims agreed not to seek unification with the neighboring state of Syria. When the Christians and Muslims came to this agreement, they were nearly equal in population. Both sides have continued to respect this agreement, though now the Muslims are in clear majority. अभी तक कहानी में क्या होता है? खालिल के माँ बाप जो है, एक है क्रिश्चियन, एक है मुस्लिम. जब गवर्नमेंट बनाई जाती है, वो तय करते हैं कि हम प्रेसिडेंट का सीट एक के लिए रखें, प्राइम मिनिस्टर का एक के लिए रखें, तो एक अगर शिया के लिए रखा है, एक सुन्नी के लिए रखा जाएगा, एक अगर प्रोटेस्टेंट के लिए रखा जाता है तो एक ऑर्थोडॉक्स कैथलिक के लिए रखा जाएगा. तो ऐसे हम मिल बांट के हम प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करते हैं. प्रॉब्लम सुलझ गया. उस वक्त जब ये हुआ, पॉपुलेशन दोनों तरफ बराबर थी, यानी इक्वल मुस्लिम एंड क्रिश्चियन पॉपुलेशन. नाउ Khalil does not like this system one bit. He is a popular man with political ambition, but under the present system, the top position is out of his reach. He does not practice either his father's or his mother's religion and does not wish to be known by either. He cannot understand why Lebanon cannot be like any other normal democracy. Just hold an election, allow everyone to contest, and whoever wins maximum votes becomes the president, no matter which community he comes from. Why can't we be like that? Like other democracies, his elders who have seen the bloodshed of civil war tell him that the present system is the best guarantee for peace. तो खालिल को ये सिस्टम पसंद नहीं है कि ये क्यों तय किया जाए कि प्रेसिडेंट जो रहेगा इसी कम्युनिटी का रहेगा. यानी मुझे अगर प्रेसिडेंट बनना है, मैं इलेक्शन में खड़ा रहता भी हूँ तो कभी नहीं बन सकता हूँ क्योंकि मैं मुस्लिम हूँ. So he feels that this system is not okay. उसके जो बड़े बुजुर्ग हैं वो कहते हैं नहीं, तूने देखा नहीं है, अर्लियर देयर वाज सो मच ब्लडशेड, वायलेंस, खून खराबा हो चुका है, तो ये सिस्टम जो है वो अच्छी सिस्टम है. द स्टोरी वॉज नॉट फिनिश्ड, but they had reached the TV tower when they stopped every day. Vetal wrapped up quickly, wrapped up means he finished his story quickly, and posed his customary question to Vikram. If you had the power to rewrite rules in Lebanon, what would you do? Would you adopt the regular rules followed everywhere as Khalil suggests, or stick to the old rules or do something else? Vetal did not forget to remind Vikram of their basic pact. If you have an answer in mind, and yet you do not speak, your motorcycle will freeze. Now he has to give the answer. Now if you had to give the answer, this is a personal response question, what would you answer? Okay, understand the system first. Suppose in India, we decided that the president will be Hindu, the prime minister will be Muslim, the speaker will be Buddhist, and maybe someone else, suppose the finance minister will always be Parsi, or maybe the agriculture minister is going to be Jain and another will be of another community. So we have decided already. Now somebody wants to become the president and he may not be a Hindu. But because you have decided that the president is going to be a Hindu, that person, even if he stands for election, he cannot win. Now see, in the case of Khalil, at the time when he was interested in coming to political power, the majority of people were Muslims. Earlier, they were equal. But he knows for a fact that if they had normal elections, like any other country, he would win. But in this method, because the post of president has been kept for Christians, he cannot become the president. So, what is your solution? So, you can have a little debate in class and you can decide. Is it good to have normal elections and let the people decide? Now, if there is a majority community, the minority always feels, but the majority are going to vote for that other person. They are not going to vote for me. So he might feel that it is good to keep reservation of seats. Certain seats are for this, certain seats are for that community. While if you feel, let it be a fair election, doesn't matter what community I am, actually Khalil also doesn't feel he belongs to either Christian or Muslim community, because one parent was of each type. A lot of people today feel quite neutral where religion is concerned. But politically, unfortunately, people of a particular community tend to vote for those who are standing from their community. Now, forms of power sharing. In modern democracy, we already saw the major points. That means how it is shared by the different parts. We had seen the major points already here. Now we are going to do it in detail. Forms of power sharing. The first, as we saw, the executive, legislature and judiciary, how they share power. Let us call this horizontal distribution. That means all three are at the same level: legislature, executive and judiciary. Okay, they are not at different levels. It's not a hierarchy. Such a separation ensures that not one organ only will have complete political control. Each organ checks the others. This results in a balance. Last year, we studied that in a democracy, even though ministers and government officials exercise power, they are responsible to the parliament or state assembly. Now, what is the meaning of responsible? Answerable. Answerable in the sense, even though people have elected you and you have come to power, you have to answer to those people or to their representatives. Similarly, although judges are appointed by the executive, they can check the functioning of executive or laws made by the legislature. This arrangement is called checks and balance. अभी जब आप जीत के आते हैं यहाँ पे लेजिस्लेचर में, इसका मतलब यह नहीं हुआ कि आप वहाँ चिपके रहोगे. अगर नो कॉन्फिडेंस वोट पास किया जाए तो आपको यहाँ से निकाला भी जा सकता है. अगर एग्जीक्यूटिव यानी प्रेसिडेंट कुछ ऐसे करे जो उनके खिलाफ बनता है तो उनको भी निकाला जा सकता है. Similarly, the judiciary also. Everyone checks the other so that there is a balance of power. In the second, as we saw in different. Now, what is the difference? यहाँ पे जो ये तीन legislature, executive, judiciary थे, वो एक level पे थे, एक समान level पे. लेकिन second जब हम point देखते हैं, state government, central government और पंचायती राज, वो different levels पे है. That means there is a hierarchy. Central being highest, then comes the state, and then after that you have the local governments. So the Panchayati Raj, or what we call the local self-government. This is at different levels, that is provincial level, regional level. Such a general government for the entire country is called a federal government. Of course, in the second chapter, we will be doing federal government in detail, where power is shared between center, state, and the local self-government. In India, we refer to it as central or union government. The government at the provincial level is known as state government. In India, we call them state governments. This system is not followed by all countries, okay, because India is a very large country. Federal system is normally seen in countries which are very big, so only one central government is not good enough. You have central, and at different state levels you have the state government, and down below you have the three-tier Panchayati Raj. Then there are countries like ours where there are different levels of government, and the constitution lays down the powers. Which powers will be in the hands of center, state? It's very clearly written down. This is what they did in Belgium. In Belgium also, very clearly in their constitution, it was written that there will be equal number of French and Dutch-speaking ministers, both central government as well as the regional government, and at Brussels, that is where the capital is. But this was not accepted by Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, they had majoritarianism, where majority, that is the Sinhalas, rule. This is called federal division of power. The same principle can be extended to levels of government lower than state government. That means, as we saw in the Panchayati Raj system. Power among different social groups. Now in Belgium, we saw that the different social groups were basically French, Dutch, and German. Power sharing can be between political parties or pressure groups. Now, this type of competition ensures that power does not remain in one hand. In the long run, power is shared among different political parties. If there is an alliance, that means if two political parties come together to come to power, because both of them may not have got a majority, then a coalition government is formed. In a democracy, we find interest groups such as traders, businessmen, industrialists, farmers, industrial workers. Now, each has their own reason to put pressure on the government. So, they will also have a small share in the power. And finally, you have the social movements. They will also share in the power. Now, in political parties, यहाँ पे power sharing among political parties. कभी कभी एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टी को मेजॉरिटी वोट्स नहीं मिलते, तो दो तीन पार्टीज टुगेदर होके कोalition गवर्नमेंट फॉर्म करती है, यानी वहां पे भी वो पावर शेयर करते हैं. अगर एक को सिर्फ 20% वोट मिला, एक को 15% मिला, तो कोई भी शायद पावर में नहीं आता. तो दे डिसाइड कि आपके लिए भी बेहतर है, हमारे लिए भी बेहतर है अगर हम साथ में आते हैं और पावर शेयर करते हैं. नाउ द डिफरेंट pressure groups. Pressure groups can be like workers union, it can be farmers union, it can be industrialists. So all of them also share in the power. And finally the people's movements. So I hope you have understood how power sharing works, and we have to admire the model given by Belgium and not use majoritarianism like Sri Lanka, which leads to civil wars, violence, fighting amongst the different communities. So we have to finally always target for peace, harmony, and living in such a way that everyone feels they have got their rights.